Warning, this video will have major spoilers from the 1995 Evangelion series and the 1997 End of Evangelion movie, and minor spoilers for the Evangelion Rebuild movies. Hope you enjoy. Neon Genesis Evangelion is not an anime as much as it is an experience. Now that might sound corny, but that is truly what it is. Neon Genesis Evangelion is a 1995 animated series by Hideaki Anno, not about mechas, but about his experience with depression and mental health. This will by no means be a deep dive analysis of every episode and every intricate meaning and everything, as much as it is my thoughts on the different arcs of the show and on the characters, my experience, my relationship to the show, and my interpretation of what the show means. Hope you enjoy. By the way, don't expect clips to be actually showing what I'm talking about. It is nearly impossible to find clips. Well, it is impossible to find clips for what you're actually talking about a lot of the time, so just find clips that I can find and putting them in there. Sorry about that. It's the one downside with this video. But it starts out, Shinji gets a letter from his father, that he needs to meet this girl so he can help him with something. Now, he's thinking he's going to here to establish some type of relationship with his father, but no, really, he's just using him. Which, yeah, sucks. And the father asks him to go on this robot, and at first he says, no, I'm not going to some robot I know nothing about, I'm pissed at you, and why am I doing that? And then he seems to me he's pretty much guilt her with this girl who's in bad condition, and he decides he's going to go into the robot. Now, what do I think of this first arc? I think that's actually a really good arc, and a really good introduction. He did a really good job at introducing the characters that we'd be working with, and introducing us to the story. And going into this at this moment, you think, oh, this is just, a fun mecha anime. But as you see, that's not really what it is. As you even see in this first parts, you can see that he has Shinji, the main character, has a lot of issues. Has a lot of daddy issues, being abandoned and running away. And has a lot of issues with depression and self-doubt. And you see this throughout the anime. Until, of course, at the end where it gets really insane. I relate to Shinji a lot in the show. That's one of the reasons I really connected with the show. And the reason I relate with Shinji is that I've also had troubles with self-worth, self-doubt, and depression. Wondering if you're good enough. Wondering if you are worth even living. Wondering, is life even worth living? Shinji is a deep character who goes through a lot of traumas, and the way they show mental health in the show is amazing. Luckily, I was able to get out of the rut in my life, but not everybody does, and Shinji didn't either. He succumbed to his depression and his traumas, and 700,000 people each year do. The thing that causes him to have so many self-doubts is the issues with his father. He ran away at a young age after his mother's death, and his father got really deep into his work, because at the end of the day, he wanted to get back to his wife. And if that meant abandoning a relationship with his son, he was going to do that. Fortunately, that caused a lot of problems with Shinji. Some other problems that might have led to his depression was his experiences with the Eva, seeing a lot of traumas go on, stress of the world relying on you on your shoulders. Sato is a director at Nerve and Shinji's main caretaker. She seems like a bubbly personality at first, but there's a much darker side to her. It is well theorized that Misato has a disease called hypersexuality. She can only show her love through, sex. The reason is that she was also, like Shinji, abandoned by her father at a very young age because he was, like Shinji, very focused on his work. And I don't know exactly what his work was, but what happened is he ended up saving her, which confused her even more. So this is well theorized what got her hypersexuality, and is why a lot of people theorize why she kisses Shinji, and the scene where she comes on to him is because It's the only way she knows how to show affection towards somebody. I love how the series shows that the adults are pretty much as messed up and confused as the children are, because it's pretty clear to me, at least, that Misato's kind of a bad caretaker of Shinji. She never really gives him what he needs in the moment, doesn't really do anything when he runs away, and yeah, she just, especially in the end of Evangelion, like, I think that was, like, her worst moment. Like, she just kind of, like, yelled at him, kissed him, and, like, then, like, just left him to go back to Ava, which she didn't do, partly due to her failure as a caretaker. But, again, it shows that adults aren't perfect either. And I think the way they did her character was very well, and, yeah, there's not much to say. I think they did her character very well in the show, and I like how she was portrayed. Throughout most of the series, I did not like Asuka. I thought she was unlikable. She'd always yell at Shinji, even when he's going through pretty traumatic stuff, and would always just call him a crybaby or idiot. I just did not like her as a character. That was until the end, where we got into a little bit more of her backstory. So she also has parent issues. She was abandoned by her mother. Her mother thought she was a doll. Yeah, it sounds weird if you haven't actually seen it, but the mother really thought. I'm guessing just some mental illness that her daughter was a doll. So yeah, it's hard to not feel some sympathy for her. Rei is an interesting character, as she's not human, but she still has so much depth to her. She is Gendo's creation that is based off his wife, Yui. This is why they get along so well, unlike him and Shinji. Her goal that Gendo created for her, her goal is to do whatever Gendo asks her to, and to help him with the Human Instrumentality Project, which gets him back to his wife, Yui. Rei feels loyal to Gendo and only Gendo because Gendo saved her life, and that's why she slaps Shinji when Shinji says that he doesn't trust Genjo's plans. That is, of course, until later in the series when Shinji saves Rei's life, and she ends up betraying Gendo to help save Shinji. So what is my interpretation of Evangelion? Well, let me just say this. There was a lot of similarities between the Human Instrumentality Project and the Second Coming of Christ. You might be saying, what are you saying right now? Human Instrumentality Project and the Second Coming of Christ? Well, there's a scene in the movie. In fact, I think there's multiple scenes in the Rebuild movies where they talk about the gods and the humans and whether we want to rely on gods still, or if the humans can now move on their own. And there's also a scene in the series, sorry about that, where everyone says, Misato, Ri, and Asuka say, do you want to be one with me, Shinji? And, they say in heaven, you're one with God, and you're one with everybody there. So there's a lot of similarities between, the Second Coming of Christ, which is when the world ends, and we are all one. Either on some new earth or heaven. There's different concepts and different religions and mythological beliefs. That is what I believe is the interpretation of the show is, do we want to rely on gods as a civilization? Or as a civilization, do we want to move on from gods and have human self-reliance? We keep the world going. We don't need gods anymore. And that's my interpretation of what this show is trying to say. Of course, I also think the show is trying to say that mental health is a real issue that you have to deal with. And not everyone survives from that, but try to do what you can to help with that. Obviously, there's more than one thing happening in the show. I think there's multiple things happening here. Obviously, this is my interpretation at the end of the day. If you have your own, please drop it down in the comments. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like and subscribe, this is probably the hardest video I've ever worked on. It's 10 minutes, but that's probably the longest video I've ever had, actually. But if you guys enjoy this, like and subscribe, and see you guys in another video. Bye.